Hello YouTube, it's your boy Nathan coming to you to do another recap video. Today we are talking 90 Day The Last Resort Season 3 Episode 10, The Last Draw. So yeah, it was the last draw, alright. So let's go on and get on into it. And all I can say is I'm so tired of Shekinah. It's every other week with Shekinah, between either too much of Shekinah getting on my nerves or too much Rebecca. Last week it was Rebecca. This week is Shekinah. I mean, it's mostly both of them at the same time, but some weeks is one more than the other. And this week is Shekinah. Okay, so this episode, we pick up where we left off last week at puppet therapy. Now, everybody's confronting the group about, like, the beef with Shekinah and the whole group and Thais and whatever. And at this point now, I'm over it. Because we're not getting anywhere at this point. Shekinah is not going to apologize. Thais is still like really upset and hurt about the whole situation and everything. Thais admitted her wrongdoing. She didn't admit it on she admitted on Between the Sheets, but Thais admit her wrongdoing and stuff. Okay, and yeah, Shekinah kind of did too, but she just goes back and forth with it at this point. And normally I would be like, okay, you recognize what you did, it won't happen again. But the fact that when Shekinah was on social media and making t-shirts saying go back to your country, that's when I don't believe anything she says. So, but anyway, they're still confronting her about it. And, Dr. Persia is trying to say, look, all of y'all, we don't need to be best friends here, but we need to kind of work together here. And Ziad actually made the best point, and which is the point that everybody's trying to make. We are here for our relationships. We're not here to fight with each other, basically, point blank. Okay, cool, whatever. And he's absolutely right. So now we start puppet therapy. Now the couples have to go up and make some jokes and make puppet shows about what's happening in their relationship. Patrick and Thais were first. Thais goes up and she makes a puppet show of John, Patrick's brother John. And, she likes making this, hey, Sparkles. You remember when John, at the tell-all with John and Jabri. But, so Thais makes a little funny puppet show about John and stuff. And like they asked Patrick, how do you feel about that? And he was like, it sounds like Thais just wants all of us to get along and everything. And she feels like I take like John's side a lot and everything. And Thais just feels that every time John comes over to the house, he goes after Patrick and her daughter Elise, but doesn't talk to Thais. And that hurts her. And she had mentioned that on the last tell-all that they were part of and everything. So, but yeah, I mean, this puppet show was just all for fun. We didn't really like I wouldn't call it like real therapy. It was just like all for fun and games. Like nobody, including Supper and Shekinah, got offensive about it. So, but the next couple to go up was Kara and Guillermo, and Guillermo went up and he talked about Kara's drinking and Kara's music career and stuff. So he does this little puppet show, and then he opened up. Now he's worried about Kara's drinking, and rightfully so. And I kind of remember this because back on the original 90 Days, Guillermo lost his brother due to alcoholism. And I remember his brother passing like during his 90 days, because I did mention that like on their first season, and that was like one of my early recaps and stuff. I had to go back and see what episode that was. But Guillermo lost his brother due to alcoholism, and so what he's worried about with Kara is legit. He's worried that Kara can fall down that path and then something happen to her. And on Between the Sheets, Guillermo said that since that happened during the 90 days, he had a choice to go back home, because if he went back home, he wouldn't have been able to come back here. So he had to go back home or stay in America to marry Kara, and he stayed in America to marry Kara and stuff. And so he just wants her to like really stop drinking and just think about what she's doing and stuff and everything. And then every time Kara and Guillermo have a conversation, Kara just starts crying. Oh, I just want you to hear me. I just want us to get back to the place where we belong and stuff and everything. That's every week with Kara, basically. So Dr. Persia was just like come stand over here, guys, and look at each other's eyes. And Dr. Persia suggested that Kara and Guillermo go on a date without talking about their issues, go on a first date again, and just reconnect and see how and see if they can get back to their old ways, really, and stuff, and see how that works out. So judging by the previews of next week, they're going to try to do that. And I thought that's a good idea for them to go on a date and not talk about the issues, because that's all that they've been doing. You know, I will admit Guillermo has been like overly, like, I know he's not attracted to Kara anymore. I get that. But he has been like, I do think that he's been really like shaming her like a little hardcore for everything. And like, you know, rightfully so, but I think I think she's tired of it at this point, but she's still trying to fight for it and stuff and everything. So like I will say that's where I feel like Guillermo is wrong in that aspect of it. So that was Kara and Guillermo. Then Dr. Persia asked Shekinah if she would come and do a puppet show. And then Shekinah was just like, this is not a good space this is not a safe space for me. These people don't like me. I don't feel like opening up about personal things with these people, and I know it's not a safe place and stuff and everything. So Dr. Persia asked the group, all right, group, can we make this a safe place for Shekinah? Like, and you know, everybody actually said yes. Like even Patrick. Patrick has been very vocal about this whole thing, because he kept on saying, I like Sarper, just don't like Shekinah. I want to be friends with Sarper, but not Shekinah. Well, dude, you can't have both, because that's still Sarper's wife. If you want to be friends with Sarper, you gotta try to make a deal with Shekinah, because that's still his wife, like it or not. Now, on Between the Sheets, they did show like while they were trying to reconcile that. Sarper actually did apologize to Guillermo about their little scuffle that they had. And, he felt like he needed to do that because, Shekinah won't apologize. She said she was going to apologize, and then Rebecca started with her and stuff last week, and so she didn't and stuff and everything. But like, I think the apology with both of them should be one-on-one instead of in the group, because I do think like with Patrick and Rebecca, button in on everything, it's just like it just makes the situation worse. So I will give them that. I'll give Shekinah that. But nonetheless, with puppet therapy, they asked Sarper if he would go and do the puppet show, and everyone's like, yeah, Sarper's thing's gonna be funny and stuff. So Sarper, he does his little puppet show, and he just does it like his little stand-up thing. Like something, talked about something about buying something at the store, or calling her the B word and stuff and everything. And then after his little puppet show, they talked about how he, Shekinah kind of fears him when he curses in his native language, in Turkish and stuff. So he said some Turkish cuss words and stuff. And Dr. Persia asked them, like, can you say your cuss words a little softly, so so it doesn't put that imp in Shekinah. And he did and stuff and everything. But that was that. Now after that, Dr. Persia had asked the group, like, what do you guys feel? She went back over to, Sarper was still standing up, but Dr. Persia was sitting down in his seat next to Shekinah, and Dr. Persia had asked the group, so what do you guys feel like is like, do you feel like is a disrespect in your relationship? And she went back over to Patrick and Thais. And, Patrick says that, he feels like he shares too much. And Thais said that John is, like, he tells John too much, and Patrick shares too much. That's like a disrespect and everything. And then while they were talking, Shekinah was just like, I can't do this. It's not even about us anymore and everything. Like, I can't. And Kara was just like, hey, can you shut the F up, please? Like, other people are talking, and Shekinah was like, I wasn't talking to you other people, but I hear you, you're being rude. They're talking. Like, shut up, bro. Like, dang. And she's absolutely right. And, back to when, before Sarper went up, when they asked to make a safe space for him, um, Guillermo said that he can't accept it because when Guillermo was up doing his puppet show, Shekinah was just sleeping. And she was just like, well, it had nothing to do with you. It's just, I'm just not interested and everything. She was just sleeping doing Guillermo's show. And so, and I was so happy that Kara told Shekinah just to shut the F up. She's like, this ain't about us. My husband is standing there and you went back to them. I just want my husband to come back and sit down with me. Is that too much to ask? I'm like, then just say that. I mean, but even with that, that's not a big freaking deal. Like, it's not. She made a big deal out of that. Now she's the one being petty and being a baby about it. Like, oh, this is not about us no more. Oh, these people are the worst. I want to go home and everything. I just want my husband to come sit next to me. And Kara's just like, shut the F up. And everything. And and like I said last week, Kara don't get mad. Even though with all this stuff that she's going on with Guillermo, Kara don't get mad. And Kara's just like, I'm so tired of Shekinah and her mess and everything. She's just being a bully and everything. Guillermo called her a bully as well and everything, and rightfully so. She thinks that we think, everybody likes to say, oh, everyone's picking on Shekinah. Well, there's a common denominator here ever since we met Shekinah. Every single tell-all she's part of, she's getting into it. This season, she's getting into it. Like, she has not taken any accountability for her actions and stuff and everything. So, and she's just like, I just want to go home. Patrick's just like, all right, just go home, please. So Dr. Persia gets up. She tells, all right, everybody, let's just take 5. Let's just take 5. And Sarper's just like, let's just go. Like, and Shekinah told Sarper that we ain't coming back. Like, we ain't coming back. So they leave, and the group is pissed off again because she's hardly ever been part of group therapy because she likes to walk away too much and everything. Like, we were going to give her that open space, that safe space that she's been wanting for, but then she can be like, oh, I can't. This ain't about me. This ain't about. It ain't all about you. This is group therapy. Duh. Duh. So Sarper and Shekinah leave, and then we get back to puppet therapy. And then we finish with Rebecca and Zia. Like, Zia does this little puppet show, whatever. So now the homework, she gave Rebecca and Zia some homework, and their homework was to write everything that they love about each other. And so puppet therapy finally ended, which is good because it was funny, but the puppets kind of creeped me out. We seen Rebecca and Zia have a conversation. They write down what they love about each other. Zia loves her eyes and her beauty, blah, blah, blah. Rebecca loves, me and a man, blah, blah, blah. This and that. But then they get back to the question of what Zia actually wants out of Rebecca. He feels that Rebecca is just not there anymore. Like, she's focused hardcore on her job, rightfully so. You're allowed to be focused with your career, but he wants her to cook for her more. She says that I cook for you all the time. He was like, no, you only cook like once a month or once every other month and stuff. Like, I just want to cook for me. Like, let's get in the movies. Like, just be there and stuff and everything. And Rebecca was just like, oh, here we go again. And she was just like, what? I'm not going back to 1980. Zia wasn't born in the 80s. He was like, well, this is how women used to be. And she was like, I'm not going back to the 80s. He was not born in the 80s. If he just feels that way, then why don't he just leave and everything. And so Rebecca gets really defensive again. She didn't scream at him this time like she normally likes to do. But she gets all mad about him because it goes back to what she said about the... when he said about the wanting to be a real wife and everything. So yeah, that conversation, even though it started off really well, didn't end well. And it's just the typical Rebecca and Zia show, and it's just ridiculous. So they go back, and Rebecca and Zia are furious at each other. Then we head back to the castle, and Dr. Persia actually makes a trip over to the castle and actually knocks on Sarper and Shekinah's room and wants to talk to them. So Dr. Persia wanted to talk one on one with Sarper and Shekinah, and Dr. Persia told Shekinah, like, are you comfortable with Thais, like you and Thais just having a one on one? And she was like, I don't really want to be across from her and everything. Sarper's actually encouraging that because he really wants her to like apologize for those words. And Dr. Persia even said, like, we get how you feel. Like, yeah, y'all shouldn't have got violent, but you got to admit that those words are hurtful. You gotta see like where they're coming from and everything. Again, Shekinah, her, she can keep saying all like, oh, it had nothing to do with your country, it had nothing to do with your race and everything, like, it just had to do with you and your actions, blah 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 blah. But again, you could have said any other thing, and that's not a apology, really, in my opinion. That's just trying to deflect on what you said. You could have just said that, look, my words, like, okay, I'm not going to take back that you attacked me first. Like, I ain't gonna, like, I ain't taking that back. You did attack me first, but I should have just been like, get the F out of my face. Like, don't put your hands on me. Don't be throwing glasses at me. Back up. I shouldn't have told you to go back to your country. That was wrong of me to say. However, I don't like the fact that my comment has overshadowed you trying to attack me and this and that and everything. And I'm sure Thais would be like, okay, I shouldn't have attacked you. I'm sorry. Now, between the sheets, Patrick said that, you know what, if they would have if they had that conversation, Patrick just feels like, Patrick said the best. Yeah, he admitted that Thais was wrong. He said they're both wrong with that, on how that situation went down. And if Thais would have just admitted that she unfollowed Shekinah in the beginning, because remember, this is what it all stems back to. It stems back to when, on the very first episode, when Shekinah was complaining that Thais unfollowed her. That's why there's all this tension between them, and maybe that incident wouldn't have happened the way it did and stuff. So that's, and I've said this for this whole time, it stems back to that, because you're worried about unfollowing, and then of course, yes, Patrick, and I'll talk more about Patrick and his like comments with everybody else that irritates everybody else, but you're worried about unfollowing, and then you're like, oh, and you've been saying all season, oh, Patrick and Thais are not my favorite couple. They're not my favorite. They're this, and that, and then that leads to that fight. So Sarper and Shekinah, like, Sarper just wants peace, and Shekinah was like, I'm here for my marriage, and I didn't think that my marriage, like being here, like the problems would be the other people. Well, you created that. I'm sorry. So anyway, after that conversation, and then we have a hot tub scene. Now you already know for Last Resort, there's always going to be a hot tub scene and some tension. It goes back to season 1 with Big Ed, and Liz, and Molly and Kelly and Angela, and then Angela and with Ed and Kelly, and then Angela and Liz. Like, there's always got to be a hot tub scene. But so Kara, Guillermo, Patrick, and Thais went into the hot tub. Who else showed up? I don't before Russell. I think that was it. Karen, Guillermo, and Patrick and Thais went to the hot tub, and they were chilling in the hot tub and just chilling, and then playing with rubber duckies or whatever floating around. And then Russ and Pal come. Now, remember what happened with Russ and Pal. Russ and Pal had their 12-year anniversary, and it didn't go well because Russ got her a necklace that she didn't want. Now, Russ has been trying to explain this that this was like, different because it came from the royal family and this and that. But, she said just switch it up. So Russ and Pal come over, and they talked about how their date went. And they said that their date started off well, but it just turned bad. And Powell said that, like, he did not listen, like, I did not want a necklace, this and that, and he's just like, I'm losing it with him. Patrick jumps in and says, like, you know what, pal, I think Russ is a really great guy, and I think that you are way too hard on him. Like, you are way too hard. And if Thais treated me like that, I would be leaving. and, and stuff. Like, he is a really great guy. He's a catch, and you are so mean to him. And Powell was just like, you know what, screw this. You're just ruining the freaking moment. So Powell leaves, and Rush is just like, I just feel like I can't basically do anything right either. So on Between the Sheets, Rebecca actually made a valid point for once with Patrick. She said, Patrick, I understand that Patrick, I get like his thought process when it came to Russ and Powell. And yes, Powell has admitted that Powell is a little bit harsh on him at times. But at the same time, we don't live with Russ. So we don't know what is happening behind closed doors that is making her go crazy with him and stuff and everything. Now, on Between the Sheets, now Russ actually said this. He was like, when him and Patrick were playing croquet or whatever, they he had mentioned that that Powell said, I don't want a nether necklace for my anniversary. But then he lets Patrick, while they were at the mall, Patrick lets Russ get her a necklace. So Russ was like, dang, Patrick, you could have told me that. And then Russ also said on Between the Sheets that when him and Powell first got together and he got her like the first gift, it was like a little picture frame of their moments, like when they first started dating. And apparently Powell's mom had took the frame and just like smashed it, basically. And I'm like, dang. And so Powell, that's basically like that reaction is just all that Powell knows, because I was kind of hostile. And I'm just like, he didn't explain, but why did she smash that? Like, what is wrong with you for you to smash that? Like, you're not like anything. I'm like, I don't get it. So, yeah, Powell does come from a little bit of I don't want to use the term aggression when it comes to women, but it's kind of, and something that's all she knows. There's kind of some kind of aggression. So Russ and Powell go back to their room, and they're talking about it. And and Russ gets really mad at her, and she's like, you just like to nitpick every little thing that I do and everything. And and Powell actually starts crying. She's like, Russ, I just really wanted to have a good night. Russ and Powell starts crying. This is like really the first time I've really seen Powell cry, because she never cries. She normally like hardcore with them, and she starts crying in his arms like, I'm sorry, I feel bad for making you feel this way, like, I'm so sorry. And she said, like, when she was like, I feel like at this point I don't feel like fighting, but if you don't feel like we fight because we care, and if you don't want to fight no more, then basically the relationship is done. So Powell and Russ had an intimate moment. He said on Between the Sheets after that they were intimate and stuff. So they like to do that. Now Russ called it making love. He said we made love after that night, and you already know Powell don't like hearing that term making love. She's like, it's just sex. But yeah, like, okay, so last week I said that Russ doesn't pay attention. Powell needs to be more grateful. But, Powell said, like, I don't need anything expensive. So don't look at it as a gold digging type thing. I don't need any expenses here. Anything expensive, just something different. And, and normally I would be like, it's the thought that counts. But the fact that you always get her necklaces and she just wants something else, like, come on, man. Now, I know he said that this was different, came from a royal family, and has special kicks on it and everything, but still, like, this is still not exactly what she wants. So, and that's where we left off. We did not see Jenny and Cement in this episode, but on Between the Sheets, they had a moment. They should have never before seen moment on Between the Sheets with Jenny and Cement, stating that they thinking that they're the best couple here, but then Cement making some smart remarks and pissing off Jenny. So yeah, Jenny and Cement, are the best couple there, because their issues are not as deep as the other couples. because clearly they got, obviously for the obvious reasons, they actually know they got more serious issues than the other couples. They got health issues and stuff that at that time was probably not diagnosed, but we know what's going on with them, and we're still praying for the situation. Now, judging by the previews of next week, we're finally going to see some therapy, one-on-one therapy with some of these couples. We'll see Dr. Tyrone talk to Jenny and Sumit about what Sumit said last week about not believing in a traditional marriage. Patrick and Thais are going to have family therapy with John. I can't wait to see that. I cannot wait to see that. And, Sarper is going to be pleading more to Shekinah to stay and try to work it out with everybody. Karen and Guillermo are going to go on that date. Powell and Rebecca are going to have a conversation about Ziet and stuff. It's going to be a lot of personal stuff next week, which this is what it's supposed to be like. I want to see more of the one-on-one therapies instead of the group therapies all the time. So I'm glad finally next week we'll get into that. Another thing I want to point out on Between the Sheets with Rebecca and Ziet is that Rebecca said that they were out with their friends and she wanted to go or something, and you know how Ziet's just irritated with her working so much that and I guess Ziet made a comment saying, guys, she just wants to go, but she don't work too hard. She only sits at a desk all day, something like that. Now, okay, Ziet, that's pretty mean, because I sit at the desk all day and I work hard. So that's pretty mean. You're still making the same amount of money for sitting at a desk all day. So I'm not a fan of Rebecca, but that is kind of cold for you to say that, man. So yeah, just a lot of underlying issues going on. But Thais and I think it was Thais and Powell played a game on Between the Sheets on how would you rank the couples from best to worst. They ranked Jenny and Sumit number 1. Then Patrick and Thais number 2. They put Rebecca and Ziet at 3, which is ridiculous. 4, they put Russ and Powell. 5, they put Sarper and Shekinah. And 6, they said Karen and Guillermo are the worst. I agree with the first 2. I would have traded, I would have put Russ and Powell at 3rd and Rebecca and Ziet at 4th. That's what I would have done. And then, I would have kept Sarper and Shekinah at 5th, and Karen and Guillermo are the worst, because they are. They are, because they're not attracted. He's not attracted to her anymore. So that was that. So yeah, that was basically it from this episode, you guys. I can't with Shekinah. Shekinah is playing the victim way too much right now, and it is annoying, and it is taken away from everybody else's issues, what we're here for. I will admit, if it wasn't for Shekinah, there wouldn't be no drama this season. It'd just be a real chill, laid back season, which is kind of what I wanted. But you already know with TLC, they gotta add, TLC is just like, this can't be too nice and stuff. So now, as an update, I hear Patrick and Thais their divorce is coming along, and I guess they're going through it, because I haven't heard nothing for a while after he had filed and after her arrest. But I'm thinking, well, maybe they've been quiet about it, so maybe they're working it out, because I really wanted Patrick and Thais to work out. So I'm kind of sad that they're in the spot they're in now and everything, but it is what it is. All right, guys, that is the end of my review. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. To all of my new subscribers, thank you so much for subscribing. I hope you guys enjoy my content. If you did, leave a like. Share this video with a friend or 10. And yeah, I will be back on tomorrow to recap Little Singles, and then the rest of the weekend for Married at First Sight. So I know for Married at First Sight, we got like 2 or 3 more weeks left. So we'll be on the look. So be prepared for that. And yeah. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see y'all again soon. Love you guys. Bye.